All righty, week 7 of the NFL season, week 9 of the NFL season. Prop till you drop with the fantasy football degenerate, Jen Ryan, and myself, the old man of fantasy football. How's it going tonight?
Good. It's Friday. A little different than our usual morning routine, but I hope you don't mind. I do have a little glass of red wine with me, but we're all adult. It's okay.
Well, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I don't even see it. I was busy doing something else.
In case anybody wants to make fun of me, I do drink my red wine out of a straw because I'm paranoid about my teeth staining. So deal with it.
Yeah. Oh my. Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
There you go.
I'm restarting the Periscope because I had something I wanted to fix. All right. So let's see. We've already got the quarterbacks up, so we're ready to go.
Oh yeah. Kicking it off with Ryan Tannehill's rushing yards over 9.5. As I'm sure you know by now, we don't really like unders on this show. His rushing up and down. He's got games where he's had 14, 12, 42, and just last week he had 20 rushing yards. So usually his line's around 12. It's why it's hard not to like this one at 9.5. I mean, Ryan Tannehill's as good a bet as anybody to run for a first down, and that's exactly what you're looking at here. It's just running for a first down, and at minus 109, you're not getting too much juice on it.
That's not a lot of yards there. Wow. 9.5 yards? Okay. That's
9.5.
That is very good. Excellent.
Yeah, anytime I see a quarterback with legs under 10, it's really hard to go past it. And then there's Deshaun Watson, who's been on fire lately, passing completions over 23.5, and this is actually at plus 105, which was why there was absolutely no way I'd be passing up on this one. Curious why it's basically even money with absolutely no juice at all. They're facing a Jake Luton-led Jaguar. As I mentioned, Watson has been lighting it up. He's thrown for over 300 yards in 4 straight games, coming off the bye. Will Fuller is still with the team. He's a total stud. Watson's efficient. I really like 23.5 completions here just because I think it's a good bet to throw the ball about 35 times.
Yeah, that sounds good. At Buffalo, that should be interesting. Yeah. Buffalo has been reeling of late, so maybe that'll be a high-scoring game.
They have been reeling as of late, and really Watson has just, in terms of the eye test, just been so much better since they got rid of Bill O'Brien. And then sticking with Watson, it's hard not to double down on this 286.5 yard line because again, 300 yards in 4 straight games. Coming off the bye, you have to think he's gonna keep this momentum going. 28.6, 23.5 completions. I really like them both.
Let me look real quick. I'm a little behind here. Let me do a real quick look at Watson. Did you check his stats the last couple of days or couple of weeks?
Oh, yeah.
309, 335, 359, 300. Oh! Those are some numbers.
It's a lot to like there.
Yes, that's incredible.
And again, wow. I feel like I say this every week. I never, it's stupid to say, oh, the book got it wrong. But it certainly feels that way here when you see that number.
Yeah, and I apologize. I was on the wrong line of my cheat sheet. I'm getting old here playing at Jacksonville, not at Buffalo. I apologize.
Oh, no, that's fine. I think I might have said at Buffalo, too, even though, in your defense, Abel, no Gardner Minshew, right? So,
yeah.
Who knew that maybe it wasn't Buffalo? Then, of course, there's Ben Roethlisberger, 2020's comeback player of the year, I'm sure. I could throw for 2 touchdowns against these Dallas Cowboys. I don't see why Ben Roethlisberger won't. He hasn't thrown for 2 touchdowns in all but one game. I really think the book has this at 1.5 because if they put it at 2.5, they probably won't get a ton of action on it. But 1.5 is just so nice. And Roethlisberger's been incredible. 15 passing touchdowns to 4 picks. I really think the only thing that could really bust this line would be game script. They are 14.5-point road favorites. It should be a great America's Game of the Week for me. But yeah, Ben Roethlisberger, minimum 2 touchdowns. I probably would have taken it at 3.
And a 190. That's pretty high, isn't it?
Well, they're taking a lot of scratch off it. So this isn't something that I would straight bet. But again, we talk about these parlays that I like to treat as GPPs, and this is something that I think is a really good. If you're going to go with like a 3-player, 4-player prop parlay, Ben Roethlisberger's touchdowns certainly feels like what we would call a lock.
Excellent. Oh, by the way, we have a question on the.
Excellent.
It's not a prop bet question. We'll throw it out anyway. That's Kimchi. Pick 2 PPR. Fournette versus New Orleans. Corey Davis versus Chicago. Cole Beasley versus Seattle. Got to get rid of one of those guys.
Oh my goodness. Oh boy.
I'm tempted to dump Corey Davis if Brown is healthy, which I think he is. Not easy.
I mean, I'm such not a Leonard Fournette fan,
Yeah.
but I mean, how do you, especially against the Saints, you don't really like that matchup.
Yeah.
I might lean with you there, Emil, and ditch Davis and hope that Fournette scores a touchdown, and of course hope that Beasley scores a touchdown too.
Well, Fournette did take over last week for the running game for Tampa Bay. Is that going to continue? So it is an iffy situation. So I certainly wouldn't argue by dumping him. So anyway, back to prop bets.
So our last quarterback here. I mean, I'm gonna let everybody know right now. There's a bit of a theme to all the props this week, and it's simply because the unstoppable Steelers are playing the pathetic Dallas Cowboys. So we're going to be seeing a lot of this. So here's my big homer bet for this week. Ben Roethlisberger, total interceptions, under half. He's not throwing the pick against this Dallas team. They stink. They're awful. Why not another Ben bet? I mean, look, Trayvon Diggs looked great last week. Could he take the ball from Ben Roethlisberger? Sure. Am I betting on that? Absolutely not. It's Ben Roethlisberger. And again, it's the Dallas Cowboys. So much promise coming into this season. Absolutely just disturbing for me, but what are you going to do?
Well, Roethlisberger's played in 7 games and thrown interceptions in 2 out of 7, which is fairly low. Did have 3 against Tennessee, and they still won the game. So that helps. I think that's a good bet. The only thing he could, I don't know, if he gets carried away and they're way above and he tries a couple things like that, I guess that's a possibility. But I like that bet. Nothing wrong. And how's the wine?
I locate it.
What kind of wine is that?
Excellent. I needed it. This is an Alamos Malbec, so I am a little snobby with Malbec. I only like Argentinian Malbec. I'm not a fan of New Zealand. And again, it's been a long week. And as you know, I have to work tomorrow, so I figure why not have a slight headache in the morning. And yeah, just going to indulge a little bit.
Fantastic. All right, let's go off to the running backs.
Yeah, so running back is actually really, really tough this week. There's no no running back props in the Raiders-Chargers game that I can find on my book right now. And there's no Tony Pollard props. I've been digging for some Tony Pollard props. I really think that I have this suspicion that the Cowboys might, knock on wood, not that it matters, ultimately shut Ezekiel Elliott down and IR him with this lingering hamstring thing in a lost season. Wouldn't be surprised if he didn't go on Sunday afternoon. And game script, 14.5-point dogs, you've got to think there's going to be some checkdowns to Pollard. So I'm going to keep looking for Pollard props, but there are no Pollard props.
Let me ask a quick question. Can you put the prop bet in after the first game start, before the second game, so you know whether Ezekiel is going to be out?
Oh, yeah. You can bet props on players up until kickoff, and they even have in-game ones. I mean, they have in-game, next to score and things like that.
Yeah, that's right. So will they change the numbers, assuming you find one, would they change the numbers quickly if they find out that Zeke's out?
Oh, yeah. Oh, the numbers are fluid. Absolutely. Yeah, they change.
So you got to hurry and get your bet in, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I was watching the Packer 49er game the other night, and I was live betting the Packers, and I took them before the game. I juiced them up to minus 13.5, and by halftime the line was minus 18. So I got them. I got them before the game at least.
Oh yeah. That didn't work out so good.
It's fun. You sit there and but you watch it change in the moment, and it's absolutely fascinating.
Excellent.
Yeah. So far, running backs, Antonio Gibson, receiving yards over 17.5. The Skins are, the Washington football team. They're another team that are coming out of the bye. And, all we heard this entire offseason with Antonio Gibson is this guy's a wide receiver. He's not even really a running back. He's a wide receiver. Then, of course, in the game before the bye against the Cowboys, we saw him more in this traditional bell cow running back role. We saw J.D. McKissick get a bunch of passing opportunities. But in the 3 games prior to that, he's had at least 5 targets and 24 receiving yards in all 3 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and consider that Cowboy game the outlier and say that this is a mispriced line at 17.5. I really like him to hit this mark. He is a complete back. This is a division game. They're only 2.5-point favorites. It's going to be a lot of back and forth. Really like Gibson's line here, over 17.5 receiving.
That does look nice. It's a little disturbing, the last game against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys is a quirky scenario, so hopefully he'll bounce back to the numbers he was getting the previous 3 games, which are well over 17.5.
Yeah. He was, again, in that Cowboy game, he was more, I think he had like 20 carries. So he was more of
20 carries, 128 yards. They finally, they really, anyway, never mind. It's the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, 3 Sigma, if you know what that means.
I got to tell you, three months ago, I didn't think that this is where we'd be, but here we are.
No, but that's why we watch the game, because things happen.
Poor Ben DiNucci.
Yeah, that was tough.
So Todd Gurley to score. I really like this prop. Not the best payout, but I mean, Gurley has 8 rushing touchdowns on the season, and one of my favorite pages on footballdiehards.com is the rushing red zone. I like to see what running backs get certain usage in scoring situations, and huge difference between the 20-yard line and the 10-yard line. 7 of Gurley's 8 rushing touchdowns have come within 10 yards. So when Atlanta gets down there and they're in a scoring situation, he's a really good bet to get the look at the ends at the goal line, basically. So Gurley to score, sort of like that Ben Roethlisberger touchdown prop. I really like this one too. Like, these are 2 that I would absolutely parlay together because you just feel like it's got a really, really good shot of the outcome hitting.
It's funny too because you listen to the announcers last Sunday, and they're like, "Wow, Gurley's doing nothing. Gurley's doing nothing. He's just out of this thing." And then as soon as they got in the red zone and the 10 zone, boom, Gurley was in, got in the carries, got the touchdown. So he scored 1, 2, 3, 4. He scored over 50% of the time in the game so far this year.
Yeah,
six out of 8, which is actually 75%. He scored a touchdown.
Yeah, pretty good percentage. And, from a fantasy perspective, I mean, the touchdown is the single most points that you could get in any sort of scenario in fantasy football, right? So we love running backs who who score a lot of touchdowns, and he does it. He does it from the 10 zone, and you have to love him to score in this game. Then, of course, you have another guy who is just absolutely unstoppable, and that's Derrick Henry. You know, this isn't like an analytical bet. There's nothing data-wise that says, oh, he's going to be the first person to score in this game. It's just highly probable that if Tennessee gets the ball first and they get down into the red zone, that Derrick Henry is going to score the first touchdown. And at plus 400, what a payout. You know, all of his props are great. So you're just looking for something here other than, you know, his rushing yards, 94.5. Yeah, we figure that's probably going to hit. This is just one of those ones where Derrick Henry, always good things happening, and if it happens to be him scoring first, it's going to be a nice payday for you.
Yeah, that sounds like a good bet to me. I like that. He's. I'm trying to hit buttons. I'm trying to hit buttons here. They played Chicago in 2019. He scored a touchdown. They played Chicago in 2016, and he scored a touchdown. So the last 2 times he played them, he scored a touchdown. Just to add a little frosting on the cake.
Why not score first and make some good money off of it, right?
Some real good money, yes. Plus 400. That sounds great.
It sure does. And then, you know, if we're going to talk running backs, I think we absolutely have to welcome Christian McCaffrey back to football. And, you know, pre-injury, a 50.5-yard line for Christian McCaffrey, it doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. I get that he's coming off of an injury. They're not rushing him out there. He's definitely going to be 110% healthy. This line just would have looked stupid, you know, in any other scenario. And really, I think it could look stupid come this weekend. It's a tough opponent. I'm not saying it's not. But Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in football, and it's easy to forget that because he hasn't played in so long. And I'm doubling down on Christian McCaffrey. He's a 100-yard all-purpose guy. Yeah, I mean, he's got such upside. It is incredible. We know what he does in the passing game. His total rushing, receiving, 87.5. I mean, if he hits that rushing prop, you're talking about just 37 more yards in the air. Like, count me all the way in on that.
Yeah, this reminds me of some Kittle part that we saw earlier in the year, which was like, what? I think the real thing is exactly what you said. People are a little worried that he's not going to get a full, touches this game because they want to ease him in. I don't know if I believe that. I think they've waited long enough to get this guy in, and those are some really good numbers. 50.5, 87.5. Those sound really good to me.
Yeah, and look, Mike Davis has been fine without Christian McCaffrey, so it's not like they're rushing him back because the running game is just lacking without him. I think, if anything, they took a really conservative approach and waited until, like I said, he's 110% healthy and just ready to go.
Sounds good to me. All right, off to wide receivers.
Yeah, the wide receiver props are always the best ones. They're just so much fun. Starting with Robbie Anderson, I feel like if we pretty much talk about him every week. It's hard not to. I mean, I know that 6 catches is a lot, but not for Robbie Anderson. He is a bona fide wide receiver 1. I feel like every Sunday, Joe Douglas must just watch him and smash his head on a wall thinking, how the hell did I let this guy go? I mean, Robbie, he's such a stud. And, you know, he's got 67 targets this season. He's caught 51 balls. That's a 76% completion rate. So with a guy like that who's catching pretty much anything, who's getting a ton of targets, 5.5 just feels like easy money.
Yeah, that's interesting. He was doing much more earlier in the season. Maybe they think he's calmed down a little bit. I still like that. I think that's an excellent number. He's been playing well, no doubt.
Here we go. Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, 42.5. Yeah, I don't care who's playing quarterback. Like, I know Dallas stinks right now, but Cooper does not. This is low. It does not matter who's throwing him the ball. He's had less than 80 yards the entire season. 40.5 is absurd. I don't know how that slipped in there, but that's going on my Big Ben and Todd Gurley scoring prop parlay.
Well, if you take an outlier from the Philadelphia game with DiNucci, where he only got one catch for 5 yards, the rest of the year, even with Dalton, he got over 42.5 yards. So, sounds like a fair bet to me.
Yeah, there's not a lot of things to be excited about with the Cowboys this year, and Cooper is one of them. I mean, he is proven to be worth that first-round pick, in my opinion. So 42.5 feels wrong. I like it.
Beautiful.
Another guy here with a line that I think is a little bit low, at least, is Deontay Johnson, 39.5 against these Cowboys. Sometimes the books tend to overcorrect a little bit, and I do think that that's what happened here. We've talked enough about how terrible my Cowboys are, so I don't need to explain to you why Johnson has huge upside in this game. He's going to be just fine. I don't know about you, Emil. It just feels like a really low line to me for a top receiver.
Yeah, well, it's the injury issue. Tennessee, he had 15 targets, 9 catches, 80 yards, way over the 39.5. And then week 8 against Baltimore, he got hurt in the middle of the game, so he didn't meet that. So I think it's the injury bug. I think they probably put this line where they thought people were scared to bet on him because he's been injured so much. And he's getting hurt in the middle of the game, so I think that's the fear. Obviously, if he plays 80-90%, there's a really good chance he'll beat that 39.5.
Sure.
And he's playing the Dallas Cowboys. The only problem with the Dallas Cowboys is they could find anybody on that team, one of the other receivers, and they're the ones who go crazy, like Claypool, which we shouldn't mention.
Yeah. Or Juju. I mean, Juju is so good. It's sort of. I don't even know how to explain Juju. Honestly, I really don't. He's so good and just hasn't really lived up, especially to the all summer getting him in like the 4th round of best ball drafts. You thought, I'm getting Juju at such a discount here. I'm getting a wide receiver 4th round, and he's kind of playing to his ADP. But yeah, I mean, look, if Johnson pulls his back or whatever has been lingering him in the first quarter, then yeah, this line is a bust. But I mean, if he plays all 4 quarters, you're talking about, if you break it down, you're talking about 10 yards a quarter.
Yeah.
It's an
excellent bet. Yeah, definitely an excellent bet.
Oops, so.
I hit a button. I apologize. There we are.
No, that's okay. So Darius Slayton to score at plus 275. This isn't anytime score. This isn't to score first or to score last. This is just to score in the game. Look at this payout, plus 275. Here's the thing. The deep shots have been there. They just haven't connected. He's only caught 1 touchdown since catching 2 touchdowns in week 1. So for me, regression is imminent. It's a matter of time before Slayton catches a touchdown, and I just want to be on the right side of it. I mean, he's getting the run that you want. He's got a 91% snap share. He's getting 22% of the team targets. I mean, the touchdown is going to happen. It's a matter of when is it going to happen, and why not in a division game against the Redskins?
Well, he's only scored. I'm sorry?
I said, sorry, the Washington football team. I always call them by their former name, and I'm so bad about that.
Yeah, that's okay. So he's only scored twice this year, Darius. One was, let me look here, my eyes aren't working, Pittsburgh week 1. And, of course, he scored against the Washington football team in week 6. So there's a correlation. We'll take those. We'll take those.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Golden Tate has been openly disgruntled. They kicked him out of practice one day this week. I think that could just open up some opportunities for Slayton in the passing game.
Sounds great.
And then one of our fun bets, we got a Stephon Diggs bet. So in this Buffalo-Seattle game, you can bet Diggs to have more yards than Metcalf, Or you could bet, who's going to have more yards, Diggs or Metcalf, or Diggs or Lockett. And before I get into any of the numbers here, Emil, I'm curious. Out of basically Diggs or one of the Seattle receivers, do you have a feel about this, about who might score those yards?
I think Metcalf will do more than Lockett.
I sure do too. He's just so fun to watch.
So you can pick Diggs and Lockett. You don't have to pick the best of the two.
No, so there's two different props
bets
on the site.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's who's going to have more receiving yards, Diggs or Metcalf, or who's going to have more receiving yards, Diggs or Lockett.
I'd probably go against Lockett personally.
Yeah, I mean Metcalf is just such a monster, and this is all basically pick'ems. It's all minus 106, minus 118. So you're basically just picking of these three guys which one you think is going to have the most receiving yards, and I really, really like Metcalf here.
Aha, beautiful. All right, we are done with the wide receivers. Let's see if I can hit the right button this time. There we are, tight ends.
I don't think there's anybody who's really been as in love with Noah Fant over the last 2 years as me. I think he's fantastic. I've said many times I'm not comparing him to George Kittle. He just reminds me of George Kittle the moment he catches the ball, when he does after it. 4.5 receptions. I know that sounds like a lot, but he's the top receiver on this team. He's had no less than 5 targets in each game. He's getting the looks. He's got 5 catches in 3 games this season, and he's coming off of a 7-catch game. Is this line close? Yeah, of course it's close. Is it a good bet? I think so.
Well, that Albert O has been, stealing some plays from him. But despite that, even last game against the Chargers, he had 9 targets and he had 7 catches. He had 3 the week before against Kansas City. But I think that's a good bet. He's a good player. He's an excellent player. He's got an excellent talent, second year. I like that. I like that bet.
I do too. And again, you're expecting him to hit a high floor, but I expect that. I expect that in this game. But these tight end props are really tough. You really have to dig to find something that looks good. So they're just all very, very tight lines. Don't really feel too much that way though about this Darren Waller prop, receiving yards over 46.5. I mean, the guy's a wide receiver 1 with a tight end tag. He's the best pass catcher on. Can we call them the Las Vegas Ronas, or is that too insensitive?
I'm not sure.
Kind of what I've been calling them all week. I mean, a draft pick. I mean, my God. But yeah, I mean, they're 1-point road dogs. There's 51.5 points projected in this game. Waller's going to be very, very heavily involved. 46.5 for me feels like a first half line, not a game total line.
Well, he's slowed down a little bit over. In the beginning of the year, he was getting 80, 105. He's kind of all over the place. He got 50 in Week 7 against Tampa Bay. He only got 28 last week against Cleveland in Cleveland, although it was a little bit of a weather game. So being in Los Angeles should be a lot better. It's a little. He hasn't really been pushing 46.5 that much recently, but I still like the bet. I still like the projection.
Yeah, and Josh Jacobs isn't 100%.
That's going to help.
Anytime. When your stud running back is questionable, I think that's just going to elevate your receivers. Other side of the ball in this game, just another big-time tight end that's going to get a lot of action. Hunter Henry, total receptions over 3.5. 4 catches is more than doable, especially for this guy. He's had at least 4 catches in all but 2 of his games. Again, I really like the game script in this. 1-point favorites, big line over 50 points. You got to figure Henry's going to be heavily involved, and 3.5 catches. It just, I'm a sucker for a low reception line.
That does sound like a good bet. You're right. He's gotten over 3.5 very significantly this year. So Yeah, I like that bet too. That's a good one.
Hopefully.
Yes.
um, and then there's Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki's one of these guys. The line's at 2.5. He's super, super hit or miss. I think the Shaheen contract extension has certainly people maybe backing off of him, but we know what he's capable of. And perhaps the best thing about Gesicki is how often he runs routes from the slot, which is great for a quarterback who's in his second start in the NFL at Arizona. 4.5-point road dogs. Going to be playing from behind. There should be a lot of throwing in this one. And especially if they can establish, a catch or two early on in the game, now you're only looking for one more.
Well, like you said, he's been extremely inconsistent against the Jets in Week 6. Donut didn't get a thing. I don't even think he got a target, from what I can tell. 2 targets against the Raiders last week, got 1. So, I don't know if that line's dropped, but he can definitely get over that. But he's hard to figure out. I think it's just a situational stuff. I mean, sometimes the other receivers are open, and they're going to throw to those guys. But hopefully he can get to 3 this week.
Yeah, I mean, what it is you're going to need Gesicki at his best, and his best is more than 3 catches. So, it's the only reason I'm even looking at it, Emil, is because it's a low line. And when I see a low line like that, I feel pretty good about it.
Excellent.
And then our last tight end bet, big theme, obviously, in this week's show is that I'm clearly a glutton for punishment. So because 2020 hasn't been hard enough for me and everybody else, why not a Dalton Schultz bet? Again, a low line, 2.5. 14.5-point home underdogs. Poor Ben DiNucci was so not ready for this game of football last week that it looks like they're calling in a favor from an old friend in Cooper Rush. And the only reason I'm remotely considering this is just because Dallas tight end is a part of the game plan. Always. Doesn't matter who's under center. And Schultz has just been one of these very lone things to be positive about. In this, if you want to call it, season of Dallas Cowboys football, I mean, I don't know if you just tell how sad I am about this team, but I still like this bet 2.5.
Yeah, and last week with DiNucci, he caught 8 targets and 6 catches, so he would have blown this 2.5 away last week if he had that last week. He's had 5 out of his 8 games, which is 56 point something average, where he has gotten over 2.5. So, excellent point you made. Despite all this disastrous change, this guy is still getting targets, which kind of makes sense because you got a big body that you can throw to in short situations. If you're getting a lot of pressure or you're insecure, you can default to the tight end. So that's a very curious bet against Pittsburgh too. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, if I need something to look forward to for America's Game of the Week, why not Dalton Schultz's receptions and Amari Cooper's receiving yards?
It's funny how the mind, I think about Dallas right now. I'm thinking, oh my God, it must be horrible. And then you actually look at the stats, and you're going, yeah, Schultz has done pretty well, especially last week. It is a tough opponent in Pittsburgh, but hopefully one of those other quarterbacks, Rush or Gilbert, whatever his name is, will play better than DiNucci, sorry.
Part of me feels like Jerry calls Tony Romo and is like, what do you think, Tony? And Tony was like, no, I have a job.
That would be funny if, that's crazy, but it is a good comedy. I think sure Tony Romo's having way too much fun right now.
Oh, it's so great. It's like such a national treasure. And, where I live, I'm surrounded by Giants fans, unfortunately. And when I hear them talk about how much they just love Tony Romo, I'm like, stop it. You did nothing but trash him for like a decade. Like, you don't get to have him now.
They liked him. They didn't like him as when they were playing against him, but now they like him. He's funny. He's hilarious and very accurate in what he does. Well, those are some great ones. Pardon?
I said he's a charismatic guy.
He is, and he's probably making more money. Well, he can't be making more, but he's making a lot of money, and he's having fun. And he doesn't have to get in an ice bath after the game either.
No, he does not. Do you have any bets you might be thinking about this week's game?
I don't have. I'm stumped. Unfortunately, I really don't have anything on the top of my head, and I've hit a few. I've hit a few this year pretty well, and I wish I had some. I don't know what's Chase Edmonds at right now.
Chase Edmonds, let's find it. Real quick as I'm scrolling through here, there is not a single prop available in the Detroit Lions Minnesota Vikings game. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, that is weird. Maybe it's because of Stafford in a questionable situation.
It's got to be, right? Let's see what we got for Edmonds rushing. Let's see what the book. You're going to love this. On my book, or the book that I bet on most, the only rushing props available in the Miami Dolphins Arizona Cardinal games are for Kyler Murray and nobody else.
Well, what's that number?
You can get his rushing yards, 40.5, and his rushing attempts, 7.5. There's nothing for any Dolphins, and there's nothing for Chase Edmonds.
Well, that would have been nice because I think that would have been an interesting one to see where they put that. But they're being clever again and not allowing us to do that. So that's a difficult one. Would Murray run more or get more yardage with only one main running back and Edmonds and without?
I mean, I have to tell you, I like the yards, 40.5, right?
Yeah,
the attempts seem like a bit much.
Yeah.
I mean, eight attempts seems like a lot. But he's a mobile quarterback, so it's tough to say. I mean, if we're gonna look at the mobile, I'm gonna actually look at Russell Wilson in the meantime because he's another one who is liable to take off on his feet. Let's see.
Well, Murray only had 14 yards rushing, 67, 14 attempts. He's had 9, 10, and 14 rushing attempts the last 3 games.
Has he really?
Yeah. He's had pretty good attempts. And 14 against Seattle. Miami has a pretty good defense. I'm just wondering if he steps it up just a little. Although Edmonds is quite good. I mean, Edmonds is going to probably rock, I think. And unfortunately, we can't bet on him. At least that's
look, and it might be available tomorrow. It's only Friday. But now that you gave me that Kyler Murray information, I am going to go ahead very quickly and parlay Kyler 7.5, and Russell Wilson's rushing yards at 27.5. That comes out to plus 299. I'm doing it.
Wow. Okay. That sounds good. That's kind of the one that was in the back of my head. I don't really have any other. I hadn't really felt anything yet, so I'm stuck there.
It's early. We got time.
We do have some time. Well, fantastic. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's really it. Just that, we're winding down. It's week 9. The lines are getting tighter and sharper. We don't have a ton of opportunities left at this, so, I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but if you have a chunk of money set aside that you like to gamble with every week, get out there, have some fun, just shop around and find something that makes sense and looks good to you.
Excellent. Great stuff tonight. And enjoy the wine. Do you like Cabernet Sauvignon?
I do. I don't really discriminate when it comes to red wine, and for white wine, that's just for cooking. Don't drink white wine. Just cook with white wine.
How about that Merlot? You ever like Merlot?
Yeah, Merlot's good too. Yeah, Malbec is just my favorite.
Which one?
Malbec is my favorite.
Yeah, I've got to look that one up. I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank in over a year, not one drop. But yeah, I really just don't drink. I don't know why. I just stopped drinking. And but I like if I drink a wine, I want it dry red wine. And both Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot are dry. I don't know why. I love dry wine. Maybe it's my
Good. And
personality.
it's like, the dry humor and the dry wine.
Sorry.
It's nice when you're out at a restaurant. It's just so nice. But I'm not at a restaurant. I'm in my home office.
Yes.
So,
well, enjoy and try to not work too hard tomorrow. And hopefully our props will be doing well this week. Excellent.
Hope so.
Thank you.